The story begins in a call center where our main character, Jordan, works. Her job is to receive emergency calls and inform the police to help people in need. One night, Jordan gets a call from a terrified girl named Leah. Crying, Leah says that a strange man is trying to break into her house. Her parents have gone out to watch a movie, and she can't reach them. Suddenly, the sound of glass shattering is heard. The man has broken in. Jordan immediately tries to calm Leah down and traces her location through the system before alerting the police. She then tells Leah to go upstairs and lock herself in a room, but Leah says the upstairs door doesn't lock. So Jordan advises her to hide under the bed and stay quiet. Leah follows her instructions. Just then, the man enters the room. He looks down through the broken window and spots a pair of shoes on the floor. Thinking someone ran downstairs, he leaves the room. Leah lets out a sigh of relief, but suddenly the phone rings loudly. The sound is so sharp that the man hears it. He turns back and rushes upstairs. The next second, Jordan hears screams and crashing noises on the other end of the line. Trembling, Leah tells the man, "The police are on their way. Please stop." But the man coldly replies, "It's too late," and hangs up the call. Shocked, Jordan jumps up from her chair, her breathing heavy. Her supervisor scolds her, saying that by calling again, she gave away the girl's location. Jordan defends herself, saying she only wanted to help, but her mistake made things worse. The next morning, the news reports that Leah has been murdered and her body was found behind her house. Hearing this, Jordan breaks down completely. 6 months later, Jordan is transferred to another department. Now she trains new recruits, teaching them how to handle calls and calm panicked callers. One day, she lets her trainees take real calls for practice. That's when a new girl receives a call. "Help me, someone has kidnapped me." It's from a foreign girl named Casey, who's been locked in the trunk of a car by a dangerous kidnapper. Crying and panicking, she keeps shouting, "He's going to kill me!" The trainee girl immediately tries to trace his location, but soon realizes that Casey made the call from a disposable phone, which is almost impossible to trace. She says, "It might take a little time to find you, but stay calm." The new trainee operator starts panicking, not knowing what to say. That's when Jordan quickly takes control of the call. She asks Casey for every detail: the color of the car, any sounds, what the road feels like, so the police can identify her location. Then Jordan tells her, "Try to break a light or something inside the trunk so people outside can notice." As soon as Casey kicks the light, a red glow flickers, catching the attention of a driver passing by. The driver immediately calls the police and notes down the license plate number. But when the system traces the car, it turns out it's registered to an old woman, meaning the car is stolen. Meanwhile, the man, let's call him Marco, realizes something's wrong, gets furious, and suddenly takes a turn onto another road. Jordan asks Casey if she can see anything around her. A signboard, a building, anything. But Casey says there's nothing noticeable outside. Then Jordan asks, "What's in the trunk with you?" Casey replies, "A bucket of paint, a brush, some tools, and a bottle of bleach." Hearing this, Jordan gets tense. And when Casey adds that she also sees a shovel, fear strikes her. "Maybe he's planning to bury me alive," Casey whispers. Jordan quickly calms her down. "Casey, listen carefully. Just do exactly what I say." She instructs her to spill the paint bucket so it leaves a trail on the road, making it easier for the police to track the car. At the same time, a boy named Alan in a nearby car notices something dripping from the back of Marco's car. He points it out, saying, "Hey man, something's leaking from the back." Marco steps out, realizes the girl in the trunk is awake, and gets furious. He opens the trunk, sees the spilled paint, and loses his temper. Then he grabs a bottle with a syringe from the side seat, probably to sedate her again. Just then, Alan walks over and asks, "Everything okay, man? Need any help?" Marco smiles faintly and says, "No, man, everything's fine." "Thanks," but Alan senses something is wrong. He sits in his car, watching Marco through the rearview mirror, as Marco seems to be doing something inside the trunk. Alan picks up his phone and calls the police. But before he can say much, Marco runs toward him with a shovel and strikes him hard. The phone shatters, and Alan collapses unconscious on the ground. A few minutes later, the police arrive at the location where the call was traced, but they only find a parked car. No one is there. Meanwhile, Marco has already switched cars. This time, Casey, trembling, tells Jordan what happened. Now there's another man with them, lying in the trunk of the car. Suddenly, they hear a faint groan from behind. It's Alan. Marco realizes he's still alive, grabs a screwdriver, and gets out of the car again. He stabs Alan brutally, leaving him to die on the spot. That attack wasn't just a fatal blow to Alan. It was also a clear warning for Casey. She was completely shattered, losing every bit of hope she had left. Terrified, she tells Jordan to start recording a call, and if something happens to her, to play that message for her relatives, like she's leaving her final words. Jordan notices Casey is in complete panic, tries to calm her down, and asks her to stay composed. Casey then tells him to check Marco's wallet for any ID and use the name to trace the car's license plate. But they soon realize the car doesn't have a location tracker, making it nearly impossible to trace directly. Marco stops the car at a gas station. Casey's phone battery is almost dead, but suddenly she comes up with a plan while Marco is refueling. Taking advantage of the moment, Casey sneaks out of the trunk and jumps onto the back seat, waving her hands frantically for help. At first, the man standing at the gas station doesn't understand what's going on, but when Casey screams for help, he gathers his courage, pulls out a knife and tries to intervene, attempting to push Marco away. Marco goes berserk. He grabs the gas nozzle, points it at the man, and then pulls out a lighter, ready to set him on fire. There was a massive explosion, and the man was burned alive. Another one of Casey's hopes shattered. She was knocked unconscious. From the evidence gathered at the scene of the fight, the police were able to lift Marco's fingerprints, and based on that, they traced his identity. The police raided Marco's house. When they questioned his wife, she said he had gone to the hospital. Meanwhile, the police found some photos and a letter in Marco's office. The photos showed a blonde girl who looked exactly like Casey, and the letter read, "Sister, you never left me. I never lost you." Seeing all this, it was clear that Marco and that girl shared some kind of deep connection, perhaps a dark family bond or a tragic past. Meanwhile, Marco stopped his car outside a small house. He pulled Casey out of the trunk and realized her phone was still connected to a call. Jordan, who was listening on the other end, warned him, "The police have identified you. They've already reached your house. Surrender now, or the consequences will be severe." Marco just scoffed and said, "It's too late," before hanging up. At that moment, Jordan gathered his courage and revealed that the kidnapping case from 6 months ago and this current case were both connected to the same man. He immediately informed the police so they could understand the link and proceed carefully. As night fell, the police arrived at the small house but found no one inside. The place was deserted. Jordan felt like something had slipped through their fingers, despite all efforts. Supervisor calmed him down and told him to go home and rest. The police would take care of the rest. The camera then cuts to the next scene, revealing the shocking truth about Marco. He ties the girl to a chair and touches her hair with a crazed smile, as if he had some twisted obsession with it. The girl screams in fear. At that moment, she grabs the chance, pulls the self-defense spray from her bag, and sprays it straight into Marco's eyes. Marco writhes in pain, and Casey runs out of the room. She rushes into another room, but as soon as she steps inside, her face turns pale. Something inside that room leaves her completely frozen. Just then, Marco breaks down the door from behind, drags her out, and takes her back. Meanwhile, Jordan keeps replaying the recording of Casey's disappearance. Tracing the recording's location, she arrives at the same old house the police had already investigated before. Inside, she finds several pictures of Marco's younger sister. From the photos, it's clear that the girl suffered from a serious illness and had lost all her hair. That must have been the reason Marco developed an obsession with hair. As Jordan steps outside, she hears strange noises coming from the ground. She bends down and spots a broken piece of a phone and a hidden door. Instead of calling the police, she decides to go down and investigate herself. She slowly approaches a room and hides behind a closet, peeking through a small gap. Marco is there, smelling and touching what looks like a woman's skin. Jordan is horrified. Now everything makes sense. Marco could never move on from his dead sister and was killing every girl who had hair like hers, golden blonde. Then Marco notices a blue streak in one of the strands of hair and gets furious, thinking it's ruined. He throws the hair away in anger. At that exact moment, he's about to spot Jordan, but because of the darkness and the cramped space, he doesn't see her. Meanwhile, Casey is tied up, and Marco begins cutting into her skull, without any anesthesia. Just then, Jordan arrives and strikes him from behind, knocking him down. But as always, she makes the same mistake. Instead of finishing him off, she rushes to free Casey first. Marco suddenly gets up, grabs Jordan, and slams her to the ground. He drags her toward the bathroom and forces her head down into the sink, trying to drown her. As Jordan struggled and gasped for air, she was just about to lose consciousness when suddenly Casey gathered her courage, came up from behind Marco, and stabbed him with a knife. But the stab wasn't deep enough, and Marco lunged at her again. Both Jordan and Casey ran with all their strength, desperate to escape. Marco chased after them, and as soon as Jordan tripped, he grabbed her leg. Somehow, Jordan managed to break free and ran upstairs. Seizing the moment, Casey attacked Marco from behind and shoved him hard. Marco's head slammed against the wall, and he fell unconscious. A few moments later, when Marco regained consciousness, everything had changed. Now he was the one tied to the same chair where he used to bind his victims. The girl standing in front of him gave a cold smile and said, "Now it's time for you to feel what you made others go through." Fear filled Marco's eyes. Casey stepped forward and said, "I'll leave you right where all your sins began." Then Casey and Jordan walked out, leaving behind that house, which had now turned into a horrifying memory. That's where the film ends, with chills down your spine and a message. When madness gets tangled with memories, it turns a person into a monster. So what do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Also subscribe to this channel for more stories like this.